Okay, so updates on the Diddy trial. It's this has been a lot. I haven't really been covering it. Apparently he raped and had parties with everybody. I don't know that anyone wasn't involved. I might have been there too, and I don't even remember. I don't know, but everybody was involved. So you got some people coming out there today and said he's been found not guilty. That is inaccurate. He's been found not guilty of the majority of the charges, but two are still holding. So I want to get into it a little bit here and just update what it is. This is another failure by the justice system, and this is stupid jurors. You know, being judged by a jury of your peers is supposed to be fair, right? The judge not making a decision, a jury making it. But if you've got a bunch of morons who are probably biased or don't know how to go through all of this stuff and make a really educated decision on it, you end up with a verdict like this. I mean, these people are probably biased, probably fans, probably could be upset that it's a black man that's being held. There could be so many factors that are in here. I'll give you one example. In Derek Chauvin's case, that was the cop with St. Floyd. One of the jurors ended up being outed as a Black Lives Matter activist. He on his page, he had him participating in the protests/riots, being like a donating person. He was involved in it. He was a part of it. He was allowed to remain a juror anyway. Instead of being removed for being biased. So nowadays, especially in high-profile cases like this, you can't get a neutral. It's nearly impossible to get a neutral jury to find somebody that's going. Puff Daddy? I'm sorry, I don't listen to rap. I'm not familiar with all of these. But who are you going to find that doesn't know? Somebody to some degree knows this shit. So, all right. Sean P. Diddy Combs had a joyous reaction after the jury in a sex trafficking and racketeering trial found him guilty on only 2 of the 5 charges, as he was seen pumping his fists in the air, smiling with his attorneys, and even mouthing thank you at the jurors as they confirmed their verdict. The rapper and hip-hop mogul has found guilty on 2 charges of transportation to engage in prostitution related to his ex Cassie Ventura, as well as an unidentified victim named Jane. The jury found him not guilty on charges of sex trafficking of either woman or racketeering. The rapper not only pumped his fist with joy after first hearing the verdict, but he was also seen dropping to his knees in prayer as his lawyers began to argue for his release ahead of sentencing. That's interesting that the womanizer and rapist is on his knees praying to God and thanking him. That's an interesting approach. What does they say? Bold move, Cotton? The New York Times' Julia Jacobs reports that Combs was on his knees with his elbows on his chair when he was sitting with his head buried as he appeared deep in prayer. He then started a round of applause, which was echoed by his family members in the courtroom. His relatives then started whistling for his legal team, who were emphatically and ecstatically embracing one another over the verdict, which was seen as the best possible outcome outside of a full acquittal. Combs' demeanor was reported as being completely different from the one he exhibited just yesterday, when it was stated the jury had reached a verdict on 4 of the 5 charges, but remained deadlocked on the racketeering charge. Now, following the verdict, which did acquit him of the most serious charges, he appeared to be energized and relieved versus grim and crestfallen. The New York Times' Olivia Bensman also reported that after the full verdict was read, Combs turned to his family and mouthed, "I'm going home." He's not. The judge is expected to return with a decision on whether or not Combs will be allowed to return to his Miami home ahead of sentencing in a few hours, as the court has adjourned in the meantime. So the follow-up with that is his team wanted him released on and put on house arrest with $1 million bond, $1 million bail. And the judge denied that. He's going to stay in jail until the sentencing of those 2 additional charges. So you can only hope that there's some sort of justice with these 2 charges. I read somewhere that both of them together could be a maximum of 20 years, whereas with the other charges he was facing life. This could be 20, and obviously, even if they're to go through with that, they're going to knock it down to something less. It has to be the absolute worst case scenario for someone to get the maximum amount allowed by the law. So if both can bring 20, maybe you're looking at 5 to 10, right? And then, and even time served, because he's already been in jail throughout all of this, so that's factored in as well. and then the potential of being able to go home to serve the rest of the time, and be on house arrest or something. So, for these guys that have been in and out of jail, right? He was supposedly involved in Biggie being killed allegedly, and maybe even Tupac as well. So, or part of that. So for these guys that have been in and out of jail and done this, doing a little bit of time is nothing to them. They get special treatment when they're in there. They've got money. There's no real problem for them. And then they'll get out and they'll have a huge celebration and they'll go back to doing their thing. So, really it's just, this is another kind of reignition of showing you that the rich and powerful live by a different set of rules from the rest of us. Because if that had been any one of us, we'd be looking at the maximum sentence right now. Those jurors would go, I don't care about that white boy. Lock his ass up. And I'd be gone on probably half the charges that Puff Daddy got. Never mind the full amount. And then getting the majority of them thrown out is absolutely crazy. So, that's what's fucked up about our legal system. If you've got the money and people know who you are and are fans and just go, nah, I don't believe any of that shit. That's just the system going after a black man, or that's the system going after a successful guy and they don't like him. It's just people like Epstein and people like Puff Daddy that get away with being womanizers or child molesters, and they're allowed to keep living and doing their thing. It's really disappointing. So I hope something comes out of these two charges, but I'm not super hopeful. But that's the update. He was found not guilty on the majority, but the case is still moving forward, and he still has some charges that he has to fight. In addition to that, one of the other women just filed a civil lawsuit against him. So I imagine, depending on how everything goes out with this, maybe he makes an arrangement to pay her and she gets a payday, and then the whole thing is dropped. But he's got a series of a couple more cases coming before this is officially over. So we'll keep up with it and see how the final result comes out. But he's still in jail, and he's waiting for the next court date to address these two. All right, that's the first update. I got the trash situation in Philly is already out of control, and it's only been 2 days. I'm going to do an update on that next.